Zulu Wedding. So Capitec made a film. Let's get into it. Zulu Wedding is described as Lou, the protagonist, left South Africa and her Zulu-Sotho heritage behind to become a dancer in America. When she falls in love with Tex, she knows he's the man to marry. But when she brings Tex home to meet her family, she discovers she's been promised since birth to a Zulu. Wait, okay, excuse. I'm busy reading the description for this movie that I found online. What do they mean by? But when she brings Tex home to meet her family, she discovers she's been promised since birth to a Zulu king. How did she discover something that she's been knowing her whole life? Anyway, let me continue. Caught between two men, two families, and two countries, Lou has to come to terms with who she is so she can fight for what she wants. According to the director and producer of this film, Zulu Wedding is a classical South African movie that explores the themes of love and identity through its diverse roster of actors from South Africa, the US, and Nigeria. The themes in this film are love and identity, expressed in the controlling idea you have to know and love yourself and where you come from before you can truly love someone else. Zulu Wedding is a romantic comedy. Zulu Wedding stars Nondumiso Tembe, Darren Henson, Carl Payne, Palance Ladla, Jerry Pele, Bubu Mazubuku, Lorsha Cooper, Homoto Christopher, Treasure Chabalala, Koleo Motoso, DJ Tira, and Kelly Kumalo. Zulu Wedding does live up to its genre classification to an extent. It is a romantic comedy, kodwa there were very few chuckles in the theater. It is shot beautifully. It's vibrant, it's colorful, and the score is beautifully put together. They had the Ndlovu Youth Choir singing that song that got them famous. The cast is great, and overall, it's a cute little movie. I want to get the praises I have for this film out of the way before I get into the things that made no sense to me. Before I get into the story itself, this movie is the first movie I've seen in a long time that has so many product placements. I read that Capitec is the reason why we finally got to see this movie. And yeah, this is a long-form Capitec advertisement. And I also saw Liberty and the De Beers Group and a couple of local designers' names that were sprinkled here and there. And those are just some of the things I could remember off the top of my head. While watching this movie, maybe around the second act, I started asking myself if Tyler Perry wrote the script. Now, if you're a Tyler Perry fan, if you enjoy Tyler Perry's movies, then that's fine. That's grand, that's sharp. But I personally don't, and here's why. Tyler Perry's movies are badly written. The dialogue is off, there's always some woman suffering. There's a choice to be made in a love interest between a dark complexion or a lighter complexion. The female lead is constantly making dumb decisions, and if the movie doesn't end on a moral of the story type vibes, it ends with the dumb choices the lead protagonist made not really affecting her life. Basically, a happily ever after. To me, this movie fits that mold. This movie is very American in the way that it tells a story. I know a lot of our media is influenced by the West, but with a growing film and TV industry, we need more movies that don't follow the American model. Okay, I'm done. Let's get into the review of the characters and the story. I want to talk about Lou. I want to talk about our main protagonist, Lungile Sabata, the lady who ran away from her family, her responsibility, her culture. And what's ironic about her running away from her culture in the first place maybe the first 40 minutes of the movie, there's an opening scene of her draped in Zulu bead accessory from head to toe. And now all of a sudden she wants nothing to do with her African heritage. Lou tries her hardest to escape from her African heritage while her fiancé Tex is embracing it. This man did his research. He went out of his way to get to know her heritage. Do you remember the last time a man went out of his way for you? To get to know you, to invest in you? He spent money. He even spent money to fly her uncle and his bodyguards in from SA. He was invested in her past, her heritage, her family, and her future. And Lou, our protagonist, what does she do? She patronizes him multiple times, saying, and I quote, "There's a whole culture thing," which she used to imply that he wouldn't understand her tradition. She said this to a man who got a Zulu love letter for her. She said this to a man from a foreign country, has shown her that he's invested in her and her cultural heritage. So Lou gets exposed twice in this movie for her lack of transparency and her dishonesty. This is my biggest problem with her. That, along with playing victim whenever she's confronted with her lack of accountability, those reasons should have been enough for her to essentially lose the love of her life. But nope, that didn't happen. Lou literally had all the time to tell Tex the truth, the whole truth about why she left Mzansi, but she chose not to. She instead resorts to blaming traditional customs for her dishonesty and lack of transparency. Had she been bold about her history and shared this information with Tex, a bulk of the drama would have been avoided and they would have been prepared to deal with her past problems together. So there's Lou. Now she has the chance to be honest, a chance to basically come clean, and instead of doing so and explaining why she kept such a huge secret from her fiancé, she deflects. Right after Lou's lack of transparency is exposed, magically someone else reveals a secret that they kept from her, and she plays the victim, shifting the focus from her flop onto someone else. She really annoyed me. She had no reason to be disappointed in others and their lack of transparency when she was doing the exact same thing. She never had to take accountability of her actions at all. She kept deflecting, and right around the time I noticed this pattern of hers, I started rooting for Tex to leave her in the dusty hills of KZN. Every time she'd cry, I felt nothing for her. Her tears were not moving me at all. I was literally staring at the screen like, Sisi ukhalelane. Another thing I wanted to talk about was how she ended up in KZN. Her family thought that she was kidnapped, only to find that Lou wasn't kidnapped. She just put herself in the prince's car. Why would you hop in a stranger's car in this climate? Just because this stranger said he knows the man you're supposed to marry? Nyani? The boot nochal. Then when they finally reach their destination, she doesn't call her family. She doesn't call the people who care about her, the people who are worried sick about her. Why didn't she call them? Why didn't she call her family to let them know that she's okay? Yena, she's busy getting cozy with a stranger, and he was a stranger at the time. He's cooking for her, he's pouring a glass of wine for her, she's taking showers at his place. And say what you will, but that is considered cheating. And yes, she was cheating. Looking for someone, we have been shown time and time again, is actually very intimate. And how many of you listening right now can say that you've never been on a date with the sex you're attracted to cooking for you? So her family and her fiancé finds her half naked in another man's house. Her fiancé decides to leave. Right after he leaves her, she went back to the prince for some more whining and dining. They were falling in love, and you can't tell me otherwise. At this point in the movie, I actually stopped caring who she ended up with. While I was watching the movie, I made a prediction about Tex and the building that he owns. I thought that he was going to sell the building in order to be able to pay for ilobola kalu. But that was a plot line they just dropped. That building was never mentioned again. I think it would have made Lou's keeping secrets from her fiancé that much more hurtful. It would have been so much more dramatic. But they never mentioned the building again. Actually, you know what, Anna? I still can't believe how they glossed over Lou's lack of transparency and her manipulation. It's a red flag, a huge red flag. There are multiple, numerous, copious quantities of oodles of information and videos on the internet on the importance of transparency in relationships, and especially intimate relationships. And this movie did nothing but gloss over it. There is no character development. Lou learned nothing. This was a great opportunity for her to learn a valuable lesson. They wanted the movie to be light-hearted and fun. I get it. But then why not just stick to Lou being a perfect princess and let the only conflict in the movie be the fact that two men are fighting for her love and affection, and she has to make a choice between the two. Why was it necessary for them to show us that Lou is flawed in this manner and then not use that flaw of hers as a tool for character development? Why was there no growth? I hope this video won't be too long. I just quickly want to touch on the comic relief, or one of the comic reliefs, Mabu, who is Lou's sister, the quote-unquote crazy one. I laughed not one time during the scenes that Mabu was on. Not one single time. It was awkward. Where do I even start? Okay. How about the fact that she did the rapid HIV test on complete strangers without their permission, wearing no gloves? Hello, alright? These men are your guests. Is that how you greet your guests? In which part of Mzansi is that even protocol? While I was still trying to digest what she just did, I see the back of her head. What the fuck is that hairstyle on Mabu? Ayimbi. Yo, I can't. To me, Mabu was just cringy. From her hair to her outfits to the unfulfilled role as the comic relief that she was supposed to be. And then the prince, what was that thing with her and the prince? Was he falling for her? In which life? There's a whole lot more I could say about this movie. We could talk about the exposition, the wardrobe, the editing, the fact that the royal wedding was so sparse, the fact that Tex came back to reclaim his wife. Imagine, after finding out that your wife-to-be was engaged to another man that she did not tell you about, but he chose to adopt her problem and make it his, telling her that he is by her side and they will solve the issue together. Guys, Tex is such an optimistic man who's grounded in reality. He didn't fall in love or even entertain other women, unlike his fiancée Lou. He knew exactly what he wanted and he pursued it from day one until he finally got it. The movie ends with Lou marrying Tex and the prince getting a consolation prize in Mabu, as if I'll ask. Okay. Go watch the movie. It's still playing in cinemas. We need to support local. It's a cute little film. Bye-bye.